Bang, bang. And we're back. This is going to be a very panoramic, kind of scenic experience. We're going to fucking panel through a lot of very unrelated topics. But in the spirit of just sort of the essence of my message, those of you that are on the right curve will definitely be able to sort of apply these concepts together. Let me tell you something very interesting, something that I gleaned, and I have no idea why this fragment of memory stuck with me, but it did, and I find it very enlightening. There was a very dumb reality TV show called The Real World, and they had challenges. And I remember, God, this has to be 10 years ago. There was one episode where there was one challenge, and for whatever reason, it caught my eye because of the physiology. The physiological examination in this particular episode is extremely elucidating about human nature. And effectively, what the challenge was is they had a bunch of dudes and females suspended in midair in this sort of contraption. It almost looked like they were in a fucking hot air balloon basket, and they were suspended way, way up in the sky above a body of water. And they had these heart rate monitors plugged into them. And the whole idea of the challenge is that while they were suspended in air, they had to bring their heart rate down to a set point. And whoever could keep their heart rate down the lowest, in other words, whoever could express that they were the most calm and had the most stewardship over their mind and could calm their entire physiological system down would win the challenge. Now, the interesting part is just on physiognomy alone, you could glean in a fucking millisecond exactly who you would expect to be able to bring their heart rate down was the one who did it. It was all the alphas in the house. There was a motherfucker, I think his name was CT, and I forget what that acronym stands for. It's probably Chris Taylor or something like that. But this motherfucker CT, he was the one who was bagging all the chicks in the house. He was the brawler. He was the enforcer. He was the protector. He was the fucking kind of warrior archetype within the household. This motherfucker had zero obstacle at lowering his heart rate. He got it down to like a chilly, cold wine cellar level. That that was fucking bizarre. And all the other motherfuckers, the motherfuckers that you would expect to be lower on the totem pole in the hierarchy, they really struggled. Their fucking heart rates were fucking booming. They were going high. They had zero control over their mind and body. This motherfucker closed his eyes and you see him sitting in the basket and his fucking heart rate is just plummeting. Just fucking plummeting. Went into a very cold frame of mind. And this sort of diorama 100% authenticates and validates everything I've been saying about lifestyle is by far the biggest power puncher when it comes to hormonal health. You guys understand where I'm going with this? Is it surprising to you that a motherfucker who lives life on his terms and gets everything that he wants has the most control over his biology mentally? That should not be a surprise to any of you. And should it be a surprise to you that the motherfuckers who are floundering, who really don't know who they are and don't really have that real world feedback and don't have that identity crystallized, is it a surprise to you that they really struggled in this particular exercise to control their physiology? The answer is fuck no. It's readily apparent. It's readily apparent that the motherfuckers who genuinely wear their heart on their sleeve and live life on their terms in every domain and dominion are able to control their body and control their mind. And that's the essence of mental toughness, leaning into the pain and absorbing the pain, right? Squeegeeing the fucking pain. And that's exactly what that exercise was. Because look, we all know that it is very challenging as a man. One of like the biggest milestones that nobody talks about is being able to shake your own psyche, right? Being able to fake it out and run a deke on it and run a daint and be able to fucking basically run a fucking jink on your fucking psyche is very difficult because the voice in your head, the critic in your head can be very fucking boisterous and vociferous. And it takes a hell of a specimen to be able to sort of ricochet and redirect that voice and stifle it and silence it. This is why motherfuckers fumble when they step up to the pulpit or they step up to the platform or they're going for a huge lift or any kind of huge performance. It involves silencing that inner critic and just being able to swing fucking freely, right? Swinging freely, playing the game for the sake of the game, not the number. Many parallels to this. Multifaceted lessons in there. Multifaceted. I'll take it 20 steps further for you. Let me give you an oil painting of this illustration. I know you motherfuckers have experienced walking in a park barefoot. Okay? Big fucking park. I know that you've observed in a particular season, let's say fall, when there's twigs scattered all in the grass, there's fucking spiny little fucking organisms, basically a bunch of plant debris littered all over the fucking grass. And when you're walking barefoot, you all know the experience of stepping on some of this shit and it gives you that fucking sharp, stinging, rattling pain, right? But then with just a very slight mental adjustment of acknowledging the pain, almost leaning into it, almost becoming the pain itself. It's almost like but the acknowledgement of it, your foot will start to curl around these objects and you can walk freely, almost like you're literally walking on water. Very similar to these motherfuckers who walk on hot coals without getting burned and without getting flayed. And then you'll just be walking and it's almost like you're levitating. And you're like, nothing changed except the awareness and the acknowledgement of the pain. And now you're walking and you're stepping on the same shit that you were stepping on 5 seconds ago, but it just don't hurt anymore. You don't even feel the sting. It's literally like you're fucking levitating. Now, I've experienced this in the dental chair at the dental office, right? You're getting a professional cleaning. They got those fucking sharp hooks. They've got fucking serrated instruments. They're fucking scraping the back of your fucking teeth. You will notice that on occasion, there will be a very sensitive region that they'll fucking nick you with, right? And they'll hit a nerve or they'll hit something and it fucking just sends a shock wave of fucking pain through your nervous system. And they'll be working on one particular region and it won't go away. But with a very, very quick flip of the switch, if you have this mindset, it's almost like you literally lean in so hard to it that in 3 seconds you can actually calm and quiet your mind. It's kind of similar to that motherfucker who won the challenge. And you kind of just settle into it. You kind of drift into it. You kind of float into the pain. And then all of a sudden, in like 5 seconds, they're still working in that region. You don't feel a fucking thing. How is that possible? They're working on the same fucking region that you were conscious of 5 seconds ago, and now you've done a switch, and just by becoming the pain itself, it just doesn't even fucking hurt anymore. You're just sort of relaxed into it. It's an incredible phenomenon. Even in the barber chair, because I have fucking gorilla thick, scruffy, fucking thick ass fucking hair, especially in my beard region. And I remember when I would be in the barber chair and this motherfucker would take one of those straight edge blades and fucking nick my neck to trim my neck, there was always fucking twisted, weird, curled up hairs in these particular regions that the fucking blade would get caught on, and it would fucking just rip the hair out. Painful as fuck. And then one day, I sat there and I just fucking quieted my mind as an experiment. I just literally fucking leaned into it when I knew that the blade was about to fucking clip that region. And then all of a sudden, it's been fucking years. This motherfucker can literally take a fucking scythe and swipe all the hair off my fucking neck. I don't feel a fucking thing anymore. Zero. There's no pull. There's no fucking shock factor. There's zero fucking pain because I became one with it mentally. Mentally just dominated myself. You see this at the highest levels too. This is just a very small microcosm of this phenomenon. I just watched one of the best tennis matches I've ever seen in my life this morning. Holger Rune versus Yannick Sinner. Fucking Danish motherfucker versus mercurial Italian player. And this dude, Rune, was basically the villain in the match. And tennis has had a vacancy in villains for quite a while because, you know, Nick Kyrgios has been sidelined. So anyway, this dude steps into the role gleefully as villain. This motherfucker's literally playing arguably the best tennis player in the world at the very moment, who's in peak form. He's got the entire crowd booing him on every fucking point. It's a packed stadium. They're in Monte Carlo. And on top of that, he's beefing with the fucking umpire the entire match. So he's got the umpire against him. He's got everyone rooting against him. He steps into it, becomes one with the fucking pain, becomes a vehicle. And this motherfucker pulls off one of the most insane second set wins that I've honest to God ever seen in sports history. And this just happened a couple hours ago. And I witnessed it with my own two eyes. And I was like, this is one tough son of a bitch. And he don't even look it. He don't even look it. And it got me thinking, the best archetype, the most blessed archetype on planet Earth for men is the beautiful monster. The beautiful monster. Because, you know, this Rune kid, he's a classically handsome motherfucker. Anyone would objectively agree to that. But he's a fucking demon inside. He's a fucking monster. Complete monster. Turned inside out. And the points that he was saving, like the clutch points, I was watching it with my own two eyes. And what I'm telling you is I could see that the motherfucker wasn't buckling to the pressure. He was actually riding and coasting and kind of drifting off of it and using it as fucking steam. And it was insane. Even on the clutch points where it was basically the match was on the line in that second set, he was just out there swinging freely. He wasn't pressing. He wasn't letting the pressure get to him. He wasn't really taking stupid shots. He basically wasn't coming out of character. He wasn't fucking out of character. He was sitting there and playing the game. The fundamentals didn't change, even though the match was on the line. You understand? That's a very, very, very apropos life lesson in there. Massive. If you can grok what I'm saying. I need a smoke break. I got a lot of other fucking topics that we're going to be breaching, but I'm going to pull up someone just to keep us entertained while I light this cigarette. Get Casanova up here. Oh, by the way, Casanova, before you talk, what I did want to tell you, I wanted to talk about conviction because this has been lost upon a lot of us, especially in the modern era. One of the greatest betting calls that I ever made in my life, I forget exactly what the amount was, but I want to say a couple years ago I had like 300,000 on a plus 500 tennis player, which paid 5-1 odds. So my take home was like 1.5 million for this match. And I remember I literally have this printed out and fucking framed on my wall because it's one of the most powerful statements I ever made. I texted my boy, I showed him the ticket. And he was fucking, you know, he was jostling with me. He was laughing. He was like, dude, you just pissed away 300 grand. It's over before it started. And I pushed back on his ass and I said, listen, motherfucker. I said, listen, this is the life lesson in this. Anytime I've gotten the absolute most astronomical, bone shattering wins in my entire life, it was literally when the entire fucking world was against me and not a single fucking soul believed in what I was doing. Nobody. The most lonely fucking place you could fucking be. That bet that I took, I remember reading Twitter. I remember kind of doing some side research just to fuck around and pass the time. The entire world was against me on that bet. Everyone thought it was gonna be a fucking barn burner. This guy was fucking toast. He had no shot. Anyway, motherfucker ends up winning, and I cashed the ticket. And I'm telling you, there might have been 3 people in the entire North American continent who believed that that shit was gonna hit. But I just had the most insane conviction from just years of experience on these tours and just watching these matches and kind of understanding the meta and the narratives and shit. So nobody was gonna knock me off this play. Nobody. No man, creature, beast, woman, organism, alien, nothing. And so I stuck with it. And the lesson that I learned is when you are the most lonely, because that's honestly the greatest analog to conviction you'll ever find. Conviction is just loneliness. That's what it is. It's loneliness. Because when you have a delusional belief in something, you can expect that there's not a soul on earth who's going to back you up on that. And that's fine. And that's completely fine. So the conviction that I had and the fucking stones, the fucking huge fucking nuts I had to take that shot, every fucking win that I've gotten that has been absolutely surreal and absurd has been when I'm the most lonely. The most lonely and nobody's rooting for me. It's completely fucking vacant. I'm in fucking austere, barren conditions riding the fucking saddle. And here's what's interesting about sports betting. Let me tell you one of the most, you guys think Oppenheimer, you think the fucking atomic bomb was the most evil invention? You guys are tripping. Let me tell you about the most evil fucking predatory invention known to mankind in the modern landscape. It's this fucking cash out feature on these betting platforms. Anybody who does sports betting knows about the fucking cash out feature. It is literally the most demonic, evil intercession, modern fucking thing you've ever seen in your entire life. Because number one, based on the volatility of the match, if you're up or down, they basically offer you a cash out midway through the match. And what it's done is it's completely eviscerated people's conviction. People who make plays, people who make bets that they originally stood on with their chest out, chin up. This cash out feature will sort of mesmerize you. It'll entrance you into making really, really horrific errors during a match. Like if you're down, people will get scared and they'll fucking take a bath on the play and they'll take a loss and they'll cash out early. If they're up, they get scared. And basically what it's done is it's spread an immense amount of infectious fear throughout this sort of because sports betting is the silent killer right now. Let's be honest. I mean, no one's talking about this, but sports betting is ravaging America right now. It's completely ravaging America. You know what I mean? And these sports books are the biggest fucking scumbags on planet Earth. I'll tell you that right now. As someone who's been in the industry for 20 years, you will never find a more scumbag institution than a fucking sports book. The games that they play, the games that they play with their customers. And the average person is such a fucking retard. They don't even understand that the whole narrative for legalizing sports betting is fucking asinine. It's fucking comical, right? All these states are bringing in sports betting, and then some fucking politician in some fucking polyester suit gets up there in front of the camera and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna bring in a lot of fucking tax revenue for the state by doing this." It's like, you dumb motherfucker. Yeah, you're bringing in tax revenue, but you're also sucking billions of dollars from the middle class. And now you're talking about tax revenue? Like you're gonna suck out billions of dollars from communities, from people who literally don't have the tools or the wherewithal to withstand the kind of hits they're taking betting. You know what I mean? Because it takes a real freak of nature, a real force to be reckoned with to even survive this shit. And you're taking average common people and you're sucking billions out of their community, and then you're getting on stage and saying that the tax revenue is going to benefit the culture. Well, let me tell you something. The tax revenue is like a 10% rebate. So we'll take billions from you, but we'll give you 100 million back and we'll fucking feed it into the community. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. It makes no sense. So the point is that look, this is a perfect fucking detour. Let me tell you how scumbag these motherfuckers are. So basically, sports books, they're marketing, they don't want sharp players. Okay? If you beat the book and you're someone who can consistently win, they'll kick you out of the book. And they do it in a professional manner. They don't literally tell you that we're closing your account. They just cut your limits to where it's completely comical to bet, right? Like if they were giving you 100 grand a game on NBA, if you crush them week after week, they'll just lower your limits to $1,000 a match. And then it's not even worth playing anymore. So that's their polite way of telling you to fuck off, right? So there's no sports book in the world that will maintain and accept winning players. But on the other end of it, because of this modern gay sort of corporate culture, there's this whole new liability thing within sports betting communities where these big institutions, these billion-dollar companies, BetMGM, FanDuel, DraftKings, they are terrified of responsible gaming lawsuits. So if you're a degen and you're losing a fuck ton of money, they're gonna pull the responsible gaming card on you and send you a letter and fucking basically make you supply documentation proving that you can sustain the losses that you're taking. So they don't, if you're a huge high roller losing player, they don't want you. If you're a winning player, they don't want you. Guess who gets fucked all over again? The middle class. As your boy Brutus has been telling you for fucking years, the middle gets fucked again. Because let me tell you something. The motherfucker working at Taco Bell who's gambling his $300 paycheck every week is really in trouble. But they don't give a fuck about that guy. They don't, he's the one who genuinely needs the responsible gaming help and the pamphlets and the fucking hotline numbers. He needs the help. But they will let that motherfucker burn in hell. The middle. Right? The guy who just loses bets 150, 300 bucks. They love that type of player. They love those motherfuckers. And so that's where sports betting has kind of evolved into is now they don't even want to really fuck with the high rollers anymore. They just want the middle class and they want volume. They want 70,000 players who bet like $100 a game. That's like that's a paradise for them. That's the utopia for the sports book. Meanwhile, the guy who's working at Taco Bell gambling his paycheck away is literally in severe trouble. He's in severe trouble. I mean, he's literally one fucking bet away from being fucking homeless and on the street. Whereas the guy who's losing 100 grand a week, you got some fucking corporate fucking baboon making responsible gaming decisions, who has no frame of reference, who's never taken a risk, who doesn't understand the psychology of a gambler, making responsible gaming calls on his behalf and saying, you know what, buddy, I think you're betting over your limits. We're going to have to suspend your account. It's insane. And it's a microcosm of where this culture is headed. This whole corporate fucking overlord bullshit of everyone trying to protect you from you has really, really sort of eroded what's made this country so great. Because what really made America such a fucking great place to live is that it started out as the Wild West. Everyone had to be responsible for themselves. Everybody did. There was really no safety nets. There was no policy. There was no legislation where people were going to come in and try to protect you from you. And the more you add safety mechanisms to society, and the more you have nerds who studied at MIT who have no frame of reference that work at these corporations and monitor your accounts and tell you what you can and can't do and fucking make you fill out questionnaires and check in on your mental health, the more you literally eviscerate the heart and the artery. You're basically taking scissors and cutting the fucking arteries of what made this country so fucking great. Is letting it be the Wild West, letting it be laissez-faire, where everyone can fucking take responsibility for their own shit. You know what I mean? Crypto's the same thing. I know you motherfuckers know what these exchanges are doing. These exchanges are worse than fucking banks. You got motherfuckers over here touting that fucking crypto's super fucking decentralized. Yeah, it is once you get your money on chain. But how the fuck you gonna wire millions of dollars into exchanges without getting clapped? It's not happening in the modern world. It's not happening. They're gonna fucking regulate you. They're gonna fucking freeze your funds. They're gonna fucking hit you with a bunch of fucking boilerplate template bullshit and fucking protect you from you, which is the biggest mistake you could ever fucking make as a parent, as a fucking boyfriend, as a husband, as a fucking lover, as a businessman. Fucking meddling in your hands in other people's affairs. Doesn't take a fucking genius to see how that could completely ravage a society. All right, let me pull you up now. Casanova, what's up? Taking a puff. Brother, I saw a little flutter, but we can't hear a fucking thing. All right, he's clipped. Colin, what's up, man? Yo, Colin.
Sorry, you can hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I just wanted to get your perspective. I don't think you've spoken on it before, but just like the only child archetype, I've kind of came from nothing, so I'm not the spoiled kind, I guess, if that makes sense. But I feel I've always had that chameleon, like latch onto the different personalities around me just from an evolution of what I've had to do to get where I've been. I've kind of used that as my edge, just surrounding myself by the highest highs and lowest of lows of people. Like you said, staying away from the middle. I just didn't even know if it's worth introspecting or changing the way I use that as my edge, or even just a deep dive on what your thoughts are for only children,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like that scenario. I've never really almost had a personality or I guess my own kind of identity. It's always, I've been so quick to absorb others because you don't get that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. So you're basically like the amalgamation of everybody around you. You're wearing that fucking Merlin hat,
Yeah.
basically fucking interchangeable, being whoever you need to be, per day. I think that archetype is relatively fucking strong, to be quite honest with you. I have no problem with people shifting personalities based on different landscapes. I actually think that's a sign of health. People who claim to be the same person around their mom, around their brother, around their girlfriend, that's a fucking complete lie. Obviously, if you understand anything about fucking diplomacy, and fucking just human nature, it makes zero sense that you would be the same person around all those people. So I think that's relatively healthy. Let me ask you this question: did you have a rocky upbringing with them, with your folks?
Not so much with my folks, but in terms of like life scenario and setup, it's never been, the typical white picket fence, and I always get jobs handed to me and so on that way. I've had the foundation of parents to support me, but in the rest of life has been kind of a battle, if that makes sense.
Okay, so I had a conversation with someone the other day, and I think this is somewhat tangential, but it is sort of related. This is sort of like the step cousin of what you're talking about, and I'll bring it up because I think it's fucking fascinating. Um, Here's the thing, okay? I've noticed that people, fatherhood in general, like especially boys who grow up with a very involved father, basically the concept that I've sort of been playing with, and I've seen it's pretty bulletproof actually, is that I have seen that billionaire fathers, and I say billionaire as a blanket term. What I really mean is baller fathers, and there's many ways to ball without actually having money. Baller fathers usually create loser kids, typically, because there is a biological impulse in all sons of fathers to sort of stay in the shadows. It's a very strong mechanism in human nature where a boy really has to swim against the grain and the current in order to surpass his father's accomplishments. So most men will actually never outshine their dad. That's the invisible barrier for them. But here's the interesting thing. When you flip it the other way, believe it or not, loser fathers actually create the billionaire kids. So I'll phrase it again. Billionaire fathers create loser kids, but loser fathers create the billionaire kids. And the reason that is is because it goes back to the hero's journey. There's a period in every man's life where, in order to become a great man, you have to go through a period of exile, complete exile, where you're in the dark, mysterious forest and you're fending for yourself. And you come back a man and reintroduce yourself into your family after you figured out who the fuck you are. And most men, unfortunately, miss that rite of passage in the modern world. But my point is that nature will only intervene and lend you a helping hand when there's been an immense amount of trauma and pain in your upbringing. In other words, nature will gift you. It'll gift you these mental fucking aberrations that you can use as ammunition to propel you to the highest of heights. But it only comes from experiencing that pain of somewhat coming from a broken family. Because if you look at any killer, if you look at any fucking great, they always have a very rocky relationship with their family. Always. Always.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
true.
it's very true. And nature will only conduct its greatest experiments on its broken parts, on its broken bones, which in this case would be men who have been afflicted or harmed or hurt. Those motherfuckers have the highest upside. Now they also have the highest downside. But the point of the matter still remains that loser fathers do create the billionaire kids. And it's a fascinating concept. It's very hard to rebuke this because you just see it in nature over and over again. But anyway, my point was is that I know a guy who's also an only child, and he can't find his bearings in life. He's what you would almost call a loser, a modern day loser. He has no ambition. He doesn't do anything. He fantasizes about life in his head, and the imagery in his mind is so powerful and vivid that the life that he fantasizes about, he actually is able to generate feelings of reality just by thinking about it. So he does nothing. He sits on a fucking bar stool in the middle of his apartment all day with fucking orange peels and PD literature all over the fucking floor. And he doesn't do anything. He doesn't accomplish anything. He sits there on a fucking stool and fucking drifts off into la la land all fucking day long. And he came to me one day and he was telling me about the hardships that he had with his family growing up. He had a very rugged father who was sort of, verbally abusive and chastising. His mom wasn't very loving. And it occurred to me that a lot of men are experiencing this and they don't even know it. And it's one of the most powerful forces in society right now is that I believe a lot of men have chosen and taken on the loser role as a way of punishing and showing their parents, like, you were so bad to me. My upbringing was so bad. So I'm now going to punish you by being a loser and showing you the damage that you created.
Yeah, and they love that feeling. You almost they just love just sitting and wallowing in that feeling, I feel
Ex-
like.
exactly. And they're wallowing in it and they're wallowing in that self pity and they want their parents to hurt so bad. So they're basically hurting themselves, destroying their own life, not never amounting to anything, to basically be like, fuck you, mom, fuck you, dad. This is what you did to me. You damaged an innocent, beautiful life. And this is literally the subconscious cause of almost all loserdom. It boils down to this. It's people wanting to get back at their parents and showing them the hurt that they caused. And there's only one solution to that problem, and it's the exile that I was just talking about. It's literally going no contact. If you are a motherfucker who grew up in one of these homes where there's no love and there's no understanding and there's no communication, you need to exile yourself immediately and start figuring it the fuck out on your own and become your own fucking parent, become your own critic. And it takes a very long time to deprogram. But eventually, once you find your stride, it's ironic too, because the best fucking repayment that you can give these people that have treated you this way is actually fucking making it, right? I mean, I told my origin story. It's on SoundCloud. I basically said, like, I was exiled when I was 17. I had zero familial contact for quite a while. And the first time that I was reintroduced to my mom which was, I believe, 6 years after I was 17. We didn't speak for 6 years. She didn't know if I was dead or alive. The very next time I saw her or had any communication was at a funeral that I attended of a family member. And I was invited through my brother. Anyway, I pulled up to that funeral in a fucking Rolls Royce Don. And this woman thought I was dead. She thought I was dead. She thought I was a fucking street drifter in fucking Oklahoma on some fucking Greyhound bus. Nah, 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 nah. I bursted back on the scene in a Rolls Royce Don. And I'll never forget the look on her face because I was abandoned as a kid. You know, I was abandoned when I was 17 and I was left to completely fend for myself. I had zero fucking head start. I was not ready to take that flight from the nest. I was very discouraged and I was very under weaponed. I had zero fucking I didn't have the tools at the time when I was 17 that I do now. I didn't really know, but I became a survivor. I became a survivor just by fucking navigating through that labyrinth. And so what I'm saying, and this is what I told that other motherfucker, I was like, brother, you think you're getting back at your mom and your dad by being a fucking loser and you want them to feel the pain that you're feeling and you want them to commiserate with you. The best way to do it is have them think that you've been left for dead and come bursting back on the scene of smashing fucking success. That is the greatest way to rub it in their fucking face. And that chip on the shoulder is extremely fucking powerful. I mean, we all know what kind of mountains that shit moves.
That's so true. Just real quick too on the topic of exile. I'm curious, as I've branched out and I've done a number of rug pulls and starting from nothing in my life, almost as a means of getting out of the middle, and it's launched me very far professionally. The more success I seem to have, it's like a magnetism of the middle. I just feel it pulling and pulling, and everything in life, right? You got to get this house. You have all these things now, responsibilities to pay for. How do I keep rug pulling? Do I keep starting from nothing? How do you escape that as you see a lot more professional success?
You can't escape it because it's endemic to the human species. This is what I was talking about on my last space. It's a very good question because a lot of people have a misconception about this. What happens is when you become more and more successful, there's always going to be regression. And a lot of people are afraid of the regression. But the whole point is, and this is why people go on drug benders, this is why people get on flights randomly and go to Colombia and fucking sniff blow and fuck hookers and shit for a period of time before they get back to work, is because all men know the exhaustion, the sheer fucking exhaustion of pretending to be a happy-go-lucky motherfucker 24 hours a day. Because men are not naturally happy creatures. None of us are. And when you're winning constantly winning, 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 winning. Everything you do, you got the Midas touch, you're turning to gold. It actually makes men miserable. It makes men miserable. So men will blow off steam and go fuck around and destroy some shit and cause some destruction because it's a recharge period. It's how they recharge their batteries. They want to fry their fucking system. They want to torch their dopamine, fucking fry their fucking nerve endings, engage in unhealthy fucking behavior because that's how they recharge. But the whole point of the recharge is that regression is higher every time. So every time you take 2 steps up and you drop down a leg by, self-destructing a little bit, the whole point is that you're going to toe that middle point forward. So you're still, even when you fall, you're actually still kind of going higher. That's the idea. And I think a lot of men are afraid of this regression. A lot of these disciplined Goggins type motherfuckers are scared of missing a day in the gym or having an unhealthy eating day or doing some fucking crazy shit to shake up life. It's a huge mistake because winning is not linear. You know what I mean? It's very jagged. And the only way to truly honor your sort of masculine essence is to sort of have that push pull mechanism. So
Yeah, they can't springboard off anything.
they can't springboard off anything. And that's why I'm telling you, like, the negativity is fucking beautiful fuel for getting out of the middle.
Got
You
it.
know what I mean? That's why guys intentionally self-destruct, by the way, because they want to feel that feeling of hatred and that anger. They sort of whip themselves up into a frenzy to propel themselves further than they were before. And so men are constantly in this vicious cycle of doing it to themselves. But it's also the spiritual, healthy way to live. That's the irony of it. You know what I mean? And like this has been my biggest beef with the health community is You see a lot of people in the health community espouse certain ways of living and vitamins and shit that's like good for your body. Well, it's like expecting everybody to metabolize nutrition the same way is like expecting everybody to have the same personality. Some personality demands, for whatever reason, like my mental demands, the way I live my life as a high flying, flashy risk taker, fucking stunt devil, daredevil motherfucker, my nutritional demands are completely different from anybody else that I know. Like, for all I know, I'm chewing through certain vitamins and minerals at a furious pace that the average person doesn't need, because my mental acuity has a demand where I'm sucking fucking copper, I'm sucking things out of my bone just to function and thrive every day. So my nutritional demands are completely different from everybody else. That is why I refuse to believe that there's a one fit all prescription for health, because I am constantly running at a deficit. You have to. So as a man, you have to pick your poison. You have to be slightly wounded in this life as a man in order to make it, in order to push out of that middle and get yourself to that foothold on the top of the summit. You're gonna have to pick your poison. There's some sort of damage that you're gonna incur in your body, mind, and heart that you can repair at the very end of the game. This is why I completely disagree with the notion that men need to get healthy first before they fix anything else. That's an absolute fucking lie. Because the healthier you are before you start your journey, the less propulsion you have from the negativity, from the deficit, from the pain, from the torment. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's like health comes at the end of the equation, because we all know when you're journeying up Kilimanjaro, you're going to be mangled, you're going to be hobbled, you're going to be wounded. It's going to be extremely painful. And the only way to truly make it out is to embrace the damage that you're incurring along the way. You know what I mean? Dude, it's amazing how when you literally, this is why it's so dangerous for motherfuckers to start tinkering and fixing the shit that's wrong with them. Because the shit that's wrong with you, it's a double-edged sword. It's also the shit that's wrong with you that'll make you the greatest sensation that you've ever known. But when you start fixing all the things that are wrong with you, and now you're a quote unquote holistic being, that's the feminine imperative. Restoration and repair and wholesomeness is a very feminine thing. That's what we want our women to be. We want our women to truly heal from trauma. We want our to be wholesome. We want our women to be restored beings. But men don't operate like that. Men don't feel good when they're made fully whole. They just don't. They start doing stupid shit. They start going off the rails. They start fucking tinkering with shit, fucking with shit, blowing shit up. Because all men sort of instinctively know that we are the bearers of pain naturally. And there's nothing wrong with fucking embracing that and letting it scorch you on a daily basis.
Dude, I'm totally seeing the parallels. Like, I really feel like the Goggins, like overly self-developed, people are like the NPCs of 2024. Like, it's so mainstream now that they're just zombies in this endless pit of dulling their edge and doing the same repetitive tasks for the sake of saying that they're self-developed. You know what I mean?
100%. Self development is super fucking gay. It's not how it works. It literally doesn't work like that. Like, best version of yourself is a complete lie. You only become the best version of yourself by trying hundreds of different things and figuring out what you're not. And, you know what I mean? Like, you got to draw
Yeah.
lines as a man. You got to know what you're unwilling to do before you can really become who you're supposed to be.
I got to hop off, but I appreciate you answering the question, man. This is great spaces.
Yep. Yo, Riz Hacks.
Yo, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, I just want to say thank you so much for all the spaces, man. My friend was actually making fun of me because I was falling asleep to one of your casts. He was like, "What the heck?"
Singing you fucking lullabies, huh?
Yeah, but I have a question
Yeah, go for it.
about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a ton of money in real estate, and like you said, I lost it all when I moved to a different state. Just burned it all. And I tried for 3 or 4 years to like start a bunch of different successful enterprises. I started like 14 or 15 different businesses in a row that all failed in that state. And then I finally moved out of that state, and I'm starting to see a lot of success again. The problem is my girl, or my wife, never really supported the idea of moving out. So I put my foot down. Now she's moved out with me. I'm not sure how I should handle that situation, whether I should find someone else or whether I should just go hard, because it seems like to some
Wait, you're
extent the
telling me?
negativity is fuel.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute. You're telling me that you basically gave her an ultimatum and you told her that she either moves in with you or it's done? How did that work?
Yeah, that's how it worked, pretty much.
Okay. And what was her response? Obviously nothing.
No, she moved with me.
Oh, she did go with you.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
So I'm just wondering whether this kind of like super negative stuff, like the lack of support and stuff, is going to continue until I make it big, and whether that's a good thing or whether I should find someone that's more supportive.
You just said she's rocking with you.
She is.
So where's the lack of support?
Hmm. That's a good point. That's a
Yeah,
good
bro.
point.
Feel like you're trolling on stage.
That's a good point. No, so the lack of support is like she keeps thinking like, oh, we should go back to Texas or something. Like, oh, we should go back. We should go back. This job, this job, like, this job isn't for you. That kind of stuff.
Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. I mean, look, it kind of goes back to what I was saying. I had a tweet about this. I think Rivellino made a post, and I kind of clapped back and I said that in a relationship, whoever gets to emote has all the power. It's a fucking bona fide, certified fact that whoever gets to have the sort of the greatest platform of expression is the one who holds all the cards. And so when it comes to like a woman sort of meddling in your affairs or trying to help you, run your business or guide you, that's the inversion. That's the inversion. And I think the minute that you buckle and take her suggestion is the minute that she loses all respect for you.
I fuck with that, brute. I fuck with that.
You understand?
Yeah. So I
I
know
don't
this.
think I don't think women actually should be fucking testing you like this all the fucking time. I think women are actually the calm ones in the relationship. Like, you know what I'm talking about. It's like it's crazy that this has been lost on people. The red pill has sort of tricked a lot of people into thinking that it's completely in reverse. But women, like the dainty little fucking housewife women that everybody fantasizes and dreams about, they're very calm. They're very fucking calm. They don't really have anything to trip about because they know you have everything under control. So if you're handling everything in your affairs and your relationship, your woman doesn't really throw fits and tantrums.
That's
It
very
should
true.
it
Yeah.
should never be happening. Like it basically, look, it comes down to this. If you're whoever is solving the problems in the relationship is the one who gets to fucking emote. It's that simple. It's like if you're not the one solving the problem, then your role is to shut the fuck up and let the big dogs do it. And so, like, if a woman's not solving the problem, or she's not the one fucking making the bread, then she doesn't really get to criticize or commentate on it because you're the one solving the problem. So you get to be angry. You get to do whatever the fuck you want to do. That's how it works.
Mm. That
You
makes
know what I
sense.
mean? Like, you can't have people complaining about shit if they're not doing anything about it. The one
That's
who's actually the one who's stepping up to the plate every day is the one who gets to bitch and complain. That's just fucking psychology 101. But I appreciate you. I'm gonna keep it moving.
Thank you.
don't know why this shit's not connecting. Yo, Attila, you're up first. He dropped off. Stage fright. GD, what's up, buddy?
What's up, bro? That last guy's got to stay off the weed a little bit, honestly. But was gonna ask regarding creative professions, and I'm a creative director, and how do you maintain, I would say, frame or staying, I don't know, I hate the term masculine, but I guess, I don't know, staying in frame in a creative profession when everyone else is sort of like falling in with the mainstream and being a little bit of a bitch.
Well, I mean, the best art is created from suffering and pain. Like, we all know that. And so I think that's why, like, you'll notice that the most artistic, creative motherfuckers, even directors, have these sort of dark cellars in their life where they have a lot of grief that they haven't been able to get rid of. And they don't want to get rid of it because they see that as the canvas that they're painting on. And so it kind of circles back to my original point. If you're someone who wants to stay creative, look, let me tell you something. You guys have never heard this before, but you know that account, Michael Mason on Twitter, that's gained a lot of popularity? He's become sort of like a folk hero. Michael Porfirio Mason, a lot of you guys remember him. His art was so good. It was so fucking he was so talented at the art that he was creating, the surrealistic tweets that he had, that a guy like me knows that that guy was actually broke as fuck and poor and fucking hurting bad. Because there's literally 0% chance someone could make art that good without immense fucking suffering behind it. You know what I mean? And this guy sort of created this persona, like being a multimillionaire. And he was talking about how when you make 50 grand a month, you start seeing colors more vividly. He had a lot of hilarious metaphors and innuendos and shit that was fucking hilarious. And everything he was saying was true. But I know the guy behind the mask that was producing that art had to be in tremendous suffering. There's no way that a genuine multimillionaire who's crushing it and killing it was producing art that fucking powerful. You kind of get where I'm going with this.
Yeah, for sure. But one more, sorry to add one more point, but in regards to working with, let's say, if I am working with the bigger companies, let's say corporations, and sometimes the work is very creative and I don't know, a startup or a client will allow you to be ultra creative, I guess the word is, but sometimes working with corporations, they want you to be a little bit more in line. Can you have a balance? Can you have a mix of showing that suffering, showing your true self while working with these giants without, risking being canceled and blacklisted and so forth?
100%. I mean, I think the whole notion of sticking your chest out and daring them to cancel you is sort of the name of the game. You know what I mean? Fortune favors the bold. So I would never curtail a certain message to appease any kind of community. I don't give a fuck if my livelihood depends on it because I know doubling down on sort of just whatever that essence is that I have has always been the winning formula. And I believe that's true for any man, by the way. I don't think the big bad wolf. I really just don't believe in it. I don't believe these overlords and anything have any power at all. I would completely step into it and completely just fucking producing the art that I wanted to create. And if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. Because again, every burned bridge, if you're being yourself and you're burning bridges, it's usually a fucking good sign. Because you're gonna literally dude, this is why I'm saying like destiny is very real. You're no matter what you do, it's like the reptilian brain has kind of already plotted the course for you. You're kind of just gonna end up where you're supposed to be. But the more that you brazenly fucking, you know what I mean, show your fucking chest tattoos and shit to these fucking corporations and these fucking, bungling bureaucrats, like the faster you're gonna hit escape velocity. That's just what I look at it as. I look at it as like the more doors that are closing, it's interesting how it kind of narrows your vision and it kind of puts you in a tunnel and it makes the next move very crystal clear to you. You know what I mean? Like I think your confusion is that you have a lot of options. And I think that if you continue to stick your chest out and do what you want to do and alienate yourself, I think the path that's going to illuminate forward is going to become crystal clear. Because freedom for
Okay.
men is freedom for men is in the narrowing of options. It's very paradoxical. The more narrow your options are, the more free you are as a man. Because the next move is just abundantly clear. And it's intuitive. Like, you don't even have to intellectualize or conceptualize why it's true. It's just intuitively you kind of know what the path forward is. But most men are unwilling to burn themselves in the short term for that, is what I'm trying to say. They take shitty opportunities because it pays well. And I don't agree with that.
Awesome, bro. Thanks.
By the way, the Jon Jones thing is fucking interesting too. If you want to do a fucking craniotomy on that guy. Um, the reason why a guy like Jon Jones is so talented and so good is because when he steps into the ring with an opponent, they are fighting his ghost. Do you understand? They're fighting his overpowered demons. Jon Jones himself has never fought anybody. His demons are so strong that basically when people go in there, they're literally fighting an entity that is ineffable. It's indescribable. They can't even really see it. It's sort of translucent. And so they get their ass whooped because they're fighting this guy's demons. And the point of me telling you that is on the flip side of that coin. The reason why you keep seeing Jon Jones flashing in the media for his destructive behavior is that Jon Jones does not feel like it's really him who's accomplishing these things because he feels possessed. He feels the possession. So the only way that Jon Jones can show the world who he really is and what kind of pain he's really in deep down is by doing those little cry for help misgivings in the public eye. That's why he gets the DUIs. That's why he's always embroiled in some sort of out of the cage drama, is because it's the only time that he can really show you who he really is and all the pain and suffering that he's gone through. He wants to show the world that he's in a tremendous amount of pain and he wants to be seen for who he really is. And so it's insane that the only way the guy can feel like himself is when he's fucking pissing it all away and on the verge of destroying his career. Because he doesn't really feel the recognition when he's winning. He doesn't feel like it's him. He feels like it's all the fucking trauma and all the damage that's been done to him that's winning these fights. And so he feels more like a champion and he feels more recognition, ironically, when he's in the media's eye for all of the fucking stupid shit that he does off camera. That's when he truly feels the recognition. That's when he feels the most wholesome. That's when he feels the most belonging, is when he's fucking getting arrested for doing DUIs. It's very fucking twisted. But this is how human psychology works. I mean, it's the same thing when people would play Kobe Bryant. You were never, ever going up against Kobe Bryant. You were going up against his demons. You're going up against his demons, you know, and the announcers would even have fucking clever metaphors for this. When a motherfucker's torching you all night, they would say that he's possessed. They weren't joking. When a motherfucker hits 8 3-pointers in a row in a crowded building, the announcers weren't fucking joking when they said that that man is possessed. Anyway, I'm gonna pull up another motherfucker. Let's get Jay up here. Yo, Jay,
Yo, what's good, Brooke? Can
fire
you hear
away.
me?
Yeah, man.
So on that Jon Jones thing, you've talked about like the self-identity and how, like, how do you get past that? Let's say you are Jon Jones. Is there a way to get past that? Do you just lean into the demons? Is there a way to kind of build your core identity and who you actually are to be aligned with the accomplishments that you have and to be that man and to feel the accomplishments deep down versus kind of being in that possessed state? I guess the question is more like, how do you shift that core self identity over a period of time so the stuff you're doing and the accomplishments you have and the way you move through the world and the shit you're going through ends up feeling like you're actually going through it and you're actually the person that's facing it and overcoming the obstacles, I guess.
That's the fucking greatest challenge known to mankind. Is none of these greats really feel like they're worthy. None of them do. But that's what makes them so great. It's that fucking possession. It's the obsession. It's literally them not feeling like they're in control whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like when it's game day, they're battling you. They're throwing the entire kitchen sink of their broken psyche at you. They're fucking harnessing and channeling all the fucking anger and pain that they've been in at you. And that's what they're doing. And it's a very exhaustive thing. But it goes back to what I was saying about how these guys that achieve this shit, they inevitably all fucking destroy it on purpose because they want to get back to source. I think that's what it is. I mean, man is born naked and screaming. And I think that all men sort of like to be in that primitive condition. You've seen Dan Bilzerian, a guy like him, go through this transformation too. Like the guy's pleasure circuits are so fucking blown out that he's talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah, bro. It's like this is what I was saying, man, about how nightmares come true. Like as a man, I don't even know that you really want to get everything that you want in life. Like it's if you literally could have everything you ever wanted and ever dreamed of as a man, I think you'd almost want to fucking commit suicide. You just wouldn't even know what the fuck to do with it all. It's like it's so built into the biology to have a little bit of debt emotionally and suffering. It's just so built in. And the sooner that we embrace that, the better life becomes. A guy like Jon Jones, though, is truly fucked, by the way. He truly is. He's gonna derail his career completely. He's already on the verge of it, and that's when he's gonna be the most happy and the most sane. He wants to. He wants to piss it all away. He's doing the best he can to just give it all back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So to kind of add on that, then let's say for the young cast and for people that are kind of at the beginning, they're not quite the John Jones. They haven't done great shit, but let's say they want to, they have that desire, I guess, in them. Is it is there a way to get around getting to the top without it being some like something other than you, some like possession of your demons, or is
No,
that you just
no.
lean into your nature and who you are and like what actually is you, the source, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the thing is about life is it's just so messy. And the thing is like when it comes to teaching obsession, it's impossible. It's one of these things that you just can't commodify. You cannot sell what I'm telling you. There's no way to package it. No one's been able to do it. There's no marketing gadgetry or gimmickry that can get people to buy into this type of thing because the reality is to truly be great, you had to have your soul completely fucking tormented. You had to. There's literally no escaping it. So how do you prescribe? How do you go tell a guy that's like, man, I really want to be great. I want to break out of the middle. I want to be the best at my fucking craft. How is it palatable or digestible to sit there and be like, look, motherfucker, if that's the case, you need to be on the brink of death several times in order to fucking whip yourself up into the kind of frenzy that's going to break you out. You literally can't tell people this. There's no way to explain it in a way where it even makes sense. It's like you either had the fucking pain or you didn't. And if you didn't, good luck to you. You're probably going to settle for just the middle life. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But all the greats are severely fucking tormented inside. It's that fucking simple. And
Okay.
so and so look, I'm not telling motherfuckers to go out there and manufacture that on purpose. Obviously. Like that's not the solution either. But it is the truth. Anyone who's a fucking maniac or a fucking hardcore or a fanatic is literally nourishing that tormented aspect of their soul. That's what they're doing. They're overcompensating. And fuck, man, overcompensation is brutally powerful.
Yeah, because I kind of feel that pull myself for like I resonate with a lot of the stuff you say, which is like pushing as far and as high as you can. And I do have a lot of pain from my upbringing, but I've gotten to this space where I'm trying to like have that line up with my core self identity, if you will. And I get this like I push hard, 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 hard for weeks on end, and then a day or two will go wrong, and it's like that core self, I guess, if you will, or the identity that I know deep down. It's kind of fighting with. this identity I've been kind of stepping into for the past 3-4 weeks of just fucking brutally pushing forward pitfalls and going down and up and down and up and whatever endeavor I'm on. And I was just kind of asking on that. So I appreciate it, Brute.
Yeah, of course, man. Eldon.
Yeah. So I just jumped in like midway. I don't really know exactly what you guys are talking about. Are you guys talking about like what it takes to be like elite and pretty much like how high these high value people are, how they make so much money?
Yeah, bro, I'm definitely not here to reiterate. Let's get power up here. Yo, power.
Yo, what up, Brooke?
What up, man?
So I have a kind of a specific question to the situation. Something that I have been thinking about that you have said in the past, pushing for pain. That's when you feel the most free. And some people cannot synthesize the pain in themselves, right? So for someone that always had it, quote unquote, easy, when they actually find a situation where they're facing, all kinds of adversity, and they manage to beat the adversity. They find that real version of themselves in that situation, but they go back like a yo-yo effect to the complacency, back to stage zero. Like, how can you manage to keep pushing the limit further and further to stay in that flow and that frequency of just going through life, massacring everything in your way?
Yeah, it's a great question. That's a great question, man. I mean, look, I'll sort of challenge my own point on this. I do think there's a lot of nobility in being inherently lazy as a man. All right. So work with me here. What I'm saying is a lot of these complacent dudes who really seemingly do nothing, like laziness is a noble aristocratic kind of trait, because in order to be truly lazy, you have to sort of have this inner conviction that you're already a king. So you don't have to lift a fucking finger or do a goddamn thing. Things are just going to come to you. But to a large degree, in some sort of alchemical way, this is how life works. Things do just kind of come to you as a man. You know what I mean? 90% of the turmoil and the toil of being a man is just being in the scene. You basically inject yourself into a scene, and then you allow the gravitational pull to bring things to you. And then it's your job to sort of seize and capture the moment and spin it into something, right? This is sort of the prima materia that the alchemists used to talk about. Now, here's what's interesting, and this is what I want to make very clear. Man is naturally an alchemist, okay? And in alchemy, let me give you a very apt metaphor here. You never really, alchemists never really needed a sound rational starter material like iron. Like a lot of times in alchemy, if you go back and read like ancient literature, these alchemists would start with a fucking shitty substance, and when I say shitty, I actually mean it literally, like sulfur. Sulfur was usually the starting material, and as you know, sulfur smells like shit. And demons are said to be made of sulfur because it's they smell like shit, right? But the metaphor is really just about being in a shitty situation. And so the path to greatness usually stems from starting with a very shitty situation and alchemizing it into something that's gold. That's what men do. That's what men, like, you want to talk about magic and the arcane arts. Men are protractors of taking very shitty situations, shitty hands that they're dealt, and spinning it into gold. So greatness is not at the starting line. It's ironic that greatness is actually starts way behind the starting line, starting with a very shitty situation and being able to morph it into a fucking W. So it's everything's backwards. Everything is way behind the line of the starting point.
100%. I can see your vision on that. So if the starting line is actually in the rough, how can you aim higher so the finish line that is gold can, how can you expand your ambition aspect of things? Because as you may know, like a lot of people come from a, like, not a privilege, but from a comfortable place, right? Like a lot of people come from a comfortable place and they don't turn into that person until they face adversity.
100%. Like, I'm someone who's uncomfortable 24 hours a day. I'm never comfortable. I'm usually very distressed. I'm under an immense amount of duress at all times. I've said before that I operate, like, my optimal state of being is a very healthy, strong body and a very stormy mind. My head is not clear whatsoever. I don't have coherent thoughts throughout the day. It's very hard for me to fucking think straight. I have zero mental clarity. I'm in a constant fucking haze of brain fog. But I operate the best under these conditions for one reason. When the male mind is completely overwhelmed, completely saturated and overwhelmed with things that need to be done, it starts to silence the inner critic. It starts to put it to sleep. You know what I mean? It goes into
Yeah.
hibernation. And then once that conscious mind is in hibernation, it's incredible how you'll just let everything go on autopilot, and you start to, through a process of reduction, start to know exactly what needs to be done. And it's not something that can be clearly articulated. It's just something that you feel instinctively.
Yeah, you
So
just start moving
you
instinctively,
just
like
start
from your gut.
moving, you start swimming like a shark, and you start finding minnows, right? You start seeing things in the world that you couldn't see before, because it's why I said that the vertex use of mind for men is actually blocking out reality. I believe this is fundamentally true, because reality is very impractical. Sucking in and inhaling reality for what it is totally impractical, because as men we all know that we can change our situation, we can change the nature of things, we can change reality, we can morph shit, we can transmute it, right? There's a metamorphosis that takes place. And so that is sort of the male imperative, is taking that shitty situation, like I said, like fucking Rumpelstiltskin, and spinning wheat into gold. There's a reason why these folk tales and tall tales all exist, because man has experienced this on some personal level. And so I guess my point is, if you're a guy who is complacent, the only way you're ever going to break out of that, the cure for that, the panacea, is overwhelming your mind, overwhelming your conscious mind, taking on so many responsibilities, dazzling your plate with so much shit that you literally cannot fucking rationally think straight. And then you let the reptilian GPS take over, and you'll start fucking hacking and slashing the problems that need to be taken care of. It's ironic because it's the most efficient route forward. You know what I mean? You trim a lot
Yes.
of fat. You trim a lot of fat when you do this. You become a butcher. You know what I
And
mean? And so the mind becomes a cleaver, and that cleaver basically starts fucking slashing all of the dross and the unwanted and unwarranted things in your life, and you're just left with the sort of boiling, simmering essence of what needs to be done. And
and
so
does
yeah, go ahead.
no, sorry. Does that get into conflict with the self-awareness aspect of things? Because you need to know yourself, right? But once you're moving on autopilot, you kind of forget about that side.
I mean, I disagree with the whole notion that, like, know thyself, because every man inherently already knows who they are. I mean, the dumbest fuck on the planet, the dumbest fucking Homo erectus troglodyte motherfucker, Neanderthal, knows who they are by nature. We all do. It's just that when you dive deeper into the psyche and start analyzing these things, you can trick yourself into being somebody that you're not. So my point
Mm,
is
holy
that
shit.
the more you go deeper into that catacomb of trying to understand yourself, the more you're gonna trick and fake yourself out. Like, there's
Just
nothing
just
to there's
adding
nothing
layers
to
on
know.
layers.
It's just layers. Yeah, there's nothing to really know, man. Like, we're all born knowing exactly what we're supposed to do. It's a complete myth that we don't. There's no amount of self. Now, in retrospect, its self analysis can be very valid. You know what I mean? After you've won a battle, after you've accomplished a huge task,
Okay.
sure, go sit in a fucking hot springs in the fucking mountains and fucking reflect on that for a bit. But during the process itself, nothing is really going to be elucidated in the moment. You know what I mean?
Because you
It's
start creating self-doubt with the thoughts and everything like that, and just
well,
adding layers of what you really are, because it's been masked all along.
Yeah, you're just creating stories. Anytime you go through self analysis or dive deep into your history to try to figure things out or why things ended up a certain way, all you're doing is storytelling. You're just telling yourself a different story, and you're basically writing versions and editing history in your own mind to help yourself reframe it. That's all you're doing. You actually never changed anything. You're still the
Wow.
same person that you always were. That's why self help doesn't work, because the deeper you go into your psyche on this analysis stuff, all you're literally doing is just rewriting the story. And
Setting
so,
yourself up for failure because you
100
don't know the story that you're writing. You only know what you already know about yourself.
bingo.
Damn. Okay.
So I see it as a form of cowardice, because what it is, it's the opposite of leaning into your edge and your nature. Your edge and your nature got you. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you're a natural born winner, even your losses become wins on a long enough timeline. Like there's really nothing you have to do to interfere. And this is why I said this in a tweet. I was like, motherfuckers don't understand 99% of winning is just letting the fomentation of your past actions come to completion without you going back and tinkering with it. In other words, people will set things in motion. People will set the ball in motion, and then they don't see the results right away, and then they go back and they start fucking with it. They start fucking editing it. They start freaking out. They start tinkering with it. And most of success is just letting your past actions, letting those like surfing those tailwinds forward
Right.
without altering them.
Sticking with it and then
Just sticking
adapting
with it.
if necessary.
Bingo. And adapting with necessary on the fly, but not going back and fucking making all sorts of alterations and edits. It's a huge mistake. So everybody's just standing in their own way, man.
Damn. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was awesome, man.
Yep.